action.
And action. Okay, so this is Title Review 101. And this particular order is a listing order that has now turned into a sales transaction. But for listing order purposes, what you want to do is see if there's any red flags that agents and customers most frequently are concerned with. And so when we prepare the title commitment, it comes out looking like this with your cover page that shows who your customer is, and then the contact information of the unit. Obviously this is an older one, so it still has some of the old information in there. Yes.
That's cute.
So in this is just, it's a general cover page. It shows that our commitment is signed. And on here, people ask frequently, agents ask frequently, well, I've had this property on the market for several years. What do you mean you've canceled the title report? Because after a certain time period, we do go through our inventory. We do get rid of things because of lack of activity. This one.
And things can change also.
And things can change, absolutely. So what we're saying here, and this is important to note, is that the obligation shall cease and terminate 6 months after the effective date. The effective date is located right here on the next page of our title commitments. So after 6 months, we do have the option to terminate. We do usually hold on to these for about 1.5 years, 2 years.
Okay.
So questions arise, that's a good point to point out to people.
This is perfect, by the way.
Yeah. So this is the Schedule A of our title commitment. This is where we are providing all the information of what we are giving affirmative coverage towards. We are telling you who we are going to insure, and this is where the buyer's information would go in. This is how much that we've got a cost of, what our title premiums will be, what particular kind of policy that we're going to be insuring. You know, we've got the homeowner's policy, the standard owner's policy, and then there's also an extended coverage one that most people don't choose to do because the homeowner's is the best. And then if there should be a loan at the time that they purchase, that information also goes here.
Why is the homeowners the best? The extended policy is just auxiliary things
Well,
that aren't really...
The extended policy usually covers, people request it when they're buying waterfront properties or they're buying large acres of property. And what it requires is a particular survey that is usually at the buyer's expense because they want that kind of coverage. The policy costs more.
Yep.
And those surveys can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 depending on the property, the location, etc. And that has to be submitted to us up front, and we're going to review everything that's in that survey, and then we're going to accept all that stuff from coverage. So really it's submitted in and then it's accepted from coverage. So a lot of people choose not to use the extended policy simply because of the cost and the
fact that it will not be included down the road.
Exactly.
But so it's just strictly data for the property buyer.
In essence.
Okay.
Yeah, but really the homeowner's policy carries so much coverages that are just included without those requirements of the big survey. So really people have come to find the homeowner's policy the best coverage. In here we're telling what kind of title that they hold to the property. There's leasehold interest, there's easement interest, there's most everything is fee simple title. When you own a property, it's yours, you're in fee.
Right. And
then right here is how vesting to the property is held.
What would be unusual to see here?
Leaseholds, for condominiums. A lot of these are happening down in Seattle where we've got co-ops, and sometimes people are just purchasing easement interests. They need to gain access through a different way to their property for whatever reason, and so they buy an easement from the neighbor.
Yeah.
And so then you would see just easement interest only. So scenarios like that.
You never see like life estates or anything like that, do you?
You do see life estates, that's in the vesting.
Got it.
That would be set up down here. So let's say Dan and Deborah had acquired title from their mom, and mom reserved herself a life estate in the property. It would say them as husband and wife, and mom as to a life estate. And so then...
So that's not that uncommon.
No, not really. I mean, it's been a long time since I've come
But it's
across
not
them,
unusual,
but it's not
yeah.
unusual. No. And if mom is dead, then all they need to produce is a death certificate, and then that immediately removes that party from the life estate. They hold it as long as they live, or
Right.
divest their life estate. So what you want to, in title reviews, what you want to look for here is, do you have a probate? Is it vested the heirs and devotees of? And so you've got
And
dead
that's what
people.
would indicate there's a probate.
Yeah, and so there would indicate some sort of information that would require further action. But this one's plain and simple. It's a husband and wife. Say you had a person who was just showing by themselves as a separate estate. They just need to verify in closing their marital status. So, you know, if they're single, then that's fine. If they are married but they don't live at this property, then they've got two options. They've got the wife or the husband, the spouse, can sign off on the new deed, selling out so that they're acknowledging and waiving their homestead, or they can submit a homestead affidavit if they don't live there. And that also releases the homestead obligations,
Got it.
or the potential claims of homestead. So, the going on, it also puts legal description exhibit. That's also in the affirmative coverage. So that's always on its own separate exhibit. And then we have in here a requirements section. And this is instructions really to escrow about what do we need from you in order to close this transaction. So we are stating in here, these first 5 are standard. You must pay us the title premiums, everything must be signed, delivered, and notarized. You must tell us in writing the name of anyone who has a potential interest in the land. Escrow has to release and reconvey all the appropriate items. And should there be a power of attorney, this is one of the conversations I was having with another person this morning. Should there be a power of attorney, it needs to be submitted to us ahead of time and approved for use in order to ensure the transaction through that. Some power of attorneys are not in the proper content for this state, so they do require certain verbiage or language, so they must do that. And then this is a homeowner's policy, and it tells what the requirements of homeowners' policies are. It has to be a natural person. LLCs, corporations cannot get a homeowner's policy. It doesn't qualify. Also, it has to be a 1 to 4 family residence.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So if they're not a natural person, you must contact the title department so that we can change the coverages
And that coverage would be.
into a standard owners.
Got it.
Yep.
So does that apply for commercial then?
Commercial does not apply. It's 1 to 4 family.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So a trust, like, you know, you have John Smith and Jane Smith as trustees of their family trust. That's acceptable to be insured under a homeowner's policy. But if you have John Smith and Jane Smith, a partnership, no, you can't. It doesn't work that way. So next, after the requirements section, then comes the exceptions to coverage. And this is what all the production department researches, all the recorded items, all the history of it, and says, we're not covering you for any of these recorded items. So the first 7 are standard exceptions. You will see these on every single title commitment. A lot of lenders, they get concerned with these and they want them removed. We do so on the final policy. Once it's issued, these 7 exceptions go away for an extended loan policy. So in essence, our exceptions begin at number 8. This is a sale transaction, so you're always going to have excise tax that's going to be due upon sale. That's always the first one. And then it goes on to, this one's a little different because of the age of it. but we always show taxes, assessments, if there's an LID assessment, if there's homeowners association to it, we'll put just the general paragraph that we're not covering any of the liens that are due the association that's unrecorded. And then we go on to money matters. So this one here has 2 deeds of trust. So escrow, of course, will obtain the payoffs for those guys. If we happen to miss a deed of trust, that's where our coverage comes into play. So this is all of our disclosure for recorded. This one has a pending action, meaning there's a court case that's involved. So it looks like our sellers are in the process of getting a divorce. We need to know where they're at with that. If that divorce becomes final prior to the sale happening, we need to have the decree, we need to have the property settlement agreement, right, so that we can determine who gets what, or if they're both still part of it. So, and then this one here is just, it's a standard thing when we do a listing order, that we're saying we don't know who's buying, but once we do receive that buyer information, we're going to run their names and determine if there's any matters that will show against them in any future update. So red flag in this particular file would be the pending action. The deeds of trust, those are typical. Yeah. And then you go on through and you've got your easements, your restrictions, etc., that follows at the very end. So these are just, these look very typical.
What are some common red flags, if that's
common
a fair
red
question?
flags, absolutely. A bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a huge red flag because there is always action that has to happen with that. That we cannot insure a property that has a bankruptcy on it unless there is a court order that approves the sale, and they have to submit that document to us that says that there's an order of sale and it's past the 10-day appeal period. And some bankruptcies now, because of the common and the short sale business, they have started using information where they're waiving the 10-day appeal period for the bankruptcies. But people should know that if, even though you have an order of sale, it could be subject to a 10-day appeal period. So you can't close for 10 days to make sure that nobody's going to go in and object.
Right.
So that's a huge red flag.
We'd also see tax.
Federal tax liens,
Yep.
Judgments, divorce cases, any kind of civil actions. Maybe there's a quiet title action that is filed where people are disputing over property lines. Encroachments, there's another red flag, where you've got somebody, you hope to God that you don't find somebody's house is over your property line.
Right.
That's a huge red flag, where that would involve more than not a quiet title action or a boundary line dispute. What else? Probates. You've got people, you want to make sure that the probate has the proper verbiage where the personal representative, basically that's the executor, that they have been appointed the powers without court intervention, and they're authorized to sign as personal representative on behalf of the estate. And also what you want to make sure is that the estate has been considered solvent. And solvent is where they exceed the amount of assets versus what is in debt.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that for those things that you've got the appointed order appointing the PR, order of solvency, and the court authorization without intervention. Those are the 3 big ones. A lot of people will submit in to us the letters testamentary. It's not worth our time to receive that, other than the fact that we may be getting the court case number. But really we need those other orders that I had talked about before.
Okay, cool. Okay. That's interesting because I do work with someone who strictly goes after estates, so that's good to know.
Okay.
That's funny information.
Okay, good. So next is our informational notes section. after all of our exclusions from coverage. If there should be CC&Rs in here, that's something that we point out to agents when they call and they ask. We're not gonna red flag it, but we're going to say, if they question, oh, I do see CC&Rs in here, it is always recommended that your buyers review through those and approve those because they are subject to them. Just something that we casually make mention of. So the informational notes section is something where it's just, a lot of this is for lender information, but our taxes, when they are paid in full for the year, they always go down here because there's not a liability for loss because they're paid in full.
Right.
And then we go on here, this is for the lender, this is our chain of title. Also for real estate agents, when they want to see a copy of the last recorded deed, that's where they're going to find this, just by clicking on the link for this last transfer deed. So it'll have legal description and where we obtained our vesting. This talks about per the RC or per the state that should this cancel, we have to charge
Right.
cancellation fee. A lot of times people.
Do we actually execute on that?
Absolutely,
Oh, really?
absolutely.
No ifs, ands, or buts?
Nope. Per the insurance commissioner, we have to. I
Right.
mean, it's just no way around it.
Understood.
Yep. If they cancel with us, we charge. Now, if we go and cancel the file on our own, just simply because we're taking inventory and don't make
Right.
notice, that's
yeah,
something else.
That's different.
That's on our end.
So, and that gets charged to the, obviously the policyholder.
No.
Or the,
If the real estate agent will cancel the file with us, then we'll charge the agent. If the mortgage broker is the one who placed the order and cancels it, we'll charge the mortgage broker.
if we have title open
Mhm.
and then they choose another title company, in that instance, who do we charge the $50 to?
We can't, the listing agent, because the listing agent placed it with us, and the listing agent didn't fight to keep it with us.
And that's per the regulations. Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, it's definitely worth their while to fight for it. And it's all right here, but for whatever reasons.
That's unusual though, right?
It
I mean,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
Usually once title's open, it's open.
Yeah, exactly. This talks about the, people will just provide a property address to us. And so we'll find the address and we'll open title. We'll come to find out they have several parcels that surround that. But in our research, we only located that address affiliated with one tax parcel. So we note here that they need to verify that all of the property is intended. And so it says, it's just covering it by a street address or a tax parcel number. And should there be other property, you need to let us know.
Yeah.
So we get everything.
So is this in essence saying we're excluding everything else except for this property?
Yeah, we're just covering this property.
it.
This is all we were in.
Yeah.
This is all we were informed of. So if there's more,
Better let us know.
you better let us know. This talks about our rate schedule and filing the insurance commissioners, and these particular section numbers have to do with where you can find how we charge in our rate schedule. Short term is another rate schedule issue. And then here, this all talks about the recording department. When you finally do get to closing, what times that the documents need to be here, where to send the documents to, e-recordings, talks about extra charges that are part of e-recordings and mailback fees. So it was something that I recently put in here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then this talks about for the lender as well. Do we have Alta clearance? You remember those first 7 exceptions that I was telling you about? Those get removed because we have this particular section, which is an endorsement that goes with it. So that, and then they always require an address endorsement as well. And this helps the agents find out, find the property address in here as well. And last but not least, it talks about the homeowner's policy and what the differences is between the standard owners and what it costs, the difference cost to issue the homeowners.
In addition to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's because sometimes the sellers don't want to pay for it, but the buyers want it. So we break it down so that escrow can make the charges.
What are the big
appropriate.
differences between the standard and the
Between the
extended?
standard and the homeowner's policy?
Or yeah,
Well, with,
homeowners is extended, right? Or,
no, homeowners is homeowners.
okay,
Homeowners policies, just to name a few things, will cover boundary lines. Standard does not. Homeowners will cover some permitting issues. Say somebody didn't get a permit some years ago, there may be coverages for that. It will cover, it insures the address, it covers some things that have to do with zoning. It will do some after closing items, after, because the standard owner's policy, when you record, that's the end. That's where your insurance timeline terminates. So anything that happens after that, too bad. I mean, our insurance stops at that effective date. But for the homeowners, there could be things that happen after the closing, and it could have coverages for it. There are deductibles, of course, for some of these additional coverages, but and there's always a sample policy that we can, if people want to review and see what those coverages include, because it talks about, where is it? The company will provide a sample policy form upon request, and so you can see what sections that they're talking about for the homeowner's policy, deductibles and section numbers and all kinds of good stuff. It's 4 pages long.
cool.
Yeah. So that, in essence, after you get done with the notes, it talks about legal jargon, conditions. That's standard, that goes out on everything. And then you've got your legal description exhibit. So should there be any discrepancies,
This is the,
again, people need to inform us,
And they'll be
review
all right
it,
here.
and yeah, this is what we're covering. Exactly. So with the homeowner's policy, you will always see the property address and legal description. Standard owner's policy, you will not.
why?
Because again, that's part of the homeowner's policy coverage, that we are
Got it.
insuring the address.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
All these little granular details.
Yeah. So again, yeah, here's talks about the coverages and where you'll find these covered risks and deductibles, and that's all available on the policy, the sample policy.
How often do people request, sample policy?
Mm-hmm. How many, I get it maybe twice a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Not very often. So, then of course, then you've got the plat map attached at the back. Now, when we get escrow that comes in and sends us buyer information and sales price, then we go back into the exact same order
This is the sub.
and we do a new title report.
Okay,
We
got
call
it.
it second report, third report, etc. And we add in the buyer information, we add what this, indeed the sales price is going to be, and put our title premiums accordingly. We get loan amount information, so we put that in there. Again, you still got, oh, the people got divorced, but now look at their vesting has changed from what it was before as husband and wife. Now they're tenants in common.
Mhm.
Because it's been hanging around for a while.
Yeah,
The divorce went through.
that's
And
funny.
so in reviewing that divorce.
That's pretty cool. I mean, not cool, but it's
Yeah.
interesting to see the time, how things do change.
So in reviewing that divorce, now we no longer have the divorce in our exceptions because we've reviewed the decree and found that it was awarded to both of them without any liens out of the divorce. So they both still need to sign out. And then, again, we've gone through the requirements section. We find that the buyers, here are in fact individuals and not a corporation or a partnership, so we've removed that homeowner's policy requirement stating that they must be individuals. You've still got in here your first 7, which is standard, your excise tax that will be due on sale. Now we've got updated taxes. So they've been removed from the informational notes section, and now they put into exceptions because there are amounts due. And so now that there's amounts due, we're accepting it from coverage. So you still got your 2 deeds of trust here. We found, here's another red flag.
Yeah, when you say accepting it from coverage.
So
you-
somebody makes a claim.
Yeah, it's excluded.
It-
We're not
you're
covering
not-
that. Yeah,
yep,
okay.
Yep,
Got it. Just making sure I understand
Absolutely.
terminology.
yep, absolutely. Here's a red flag. The buyer has a common name, and so we needed that buyer to fill out a confidential information statement so that we can review that and determine if any of those judgments, federal tax liens,
Are this Matthew
are this
Daniels
person or we can
somebody else?
clear. So that's what the lender wants to see, is that they are clear, so that you can insure the lender with a first lien position. Because any of these happen before the lender's deed of trust records, it has priority.
And this is not always required.
No, it's
It just-
only if we find, when we run their names in our
There's a
our
discrepancy.
search.
There's a couple different Matthew Daniels. We can't figure out is it the same
Yep.
person or not.
Exactly.
So we need to.
So we need the ID so that we can actually pull the information from the courts and review to see if they're one and the same. And then again, you've got your easement paragraphs that are still there that we're not providing any coverage for. And still all the same notes section. We do modify this to reflect whenever the sales price changes to make the differences there. And all these are down here, you're gonna see initials. These are examiners and word processors that have typed up this product.
Just if we need reference later.
Yeah. And then you have, see, here's the ID affidavit that was sent out, but, where was it? They didn't submit the ID affidavit. What they did is they sent us a copy of the loan application, or the 1003. It says, oh, well, their information's on there, can you try and use that to try and clear them? We don't recommend that because there isn't enough residence history that goes back. And there are times when I have to say, no, I'm sorry, this isn't working. We need that ID affidavit filled out. So this also helps us obtain the loan information as well, making sure that our loan amount is correct, who our proposed insured may be. Because right here, then we do supplemental reports every time there's a little change in the commitment. We'll issue a supplemental report and send it to the clients.
So when somebody's saying they want the sub,
Mm-hmm.
they want to see what's been updated.
Exactly.
Really, we want the updated version.
They want to see,
And there would only be a sub if something's changed.
yes,
Got it.
if somebody had requested the lender to be added, or again, you've got that numerous matters paragraph that's in there. Has it been reviewed? Has it been removed?
So would somebody escrow ever request a sub and you go like, there isn't one, nothing's changed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Or they say they want a sub. Well, tell us what it is that you want the sub for.
Right.
You know, what change are you making?
Might be
A loan amount
CIS
change.
or the divorce decree or.
Yeah,
something.
they
I
could
mean,
be sending us information to follow up and review.
Got it.
Yeah. So, any questions so far?
No, it's awesome.
Okay, okay. So I've got one more title report over here that just to kind of break it up, make a little bit of differences. This again started out here as a listing order. And this one has an ID affidavit, so that indicates a red flag to me right there.
We have a common name, right?
So we've got legal description, we're condominium. Condominiums, the question frequently comes up of, your title report showing this property address, but we have this other property address. It's not uncommon for condos to have a site address and a mailing address. So it's a common discrepancy that it's always back and forth with. We typically use the mailing address on our title commitments.
Interesting. So we're insuring them, really?
So,
Jordan.
yep. There's a title report created for Jordan. Here's the listing portion of it. See here we've got now a single person or a person that holds title as their separate estate. So are they married? These are now where the questions arise for community property and homestead. They're two separate issues.
Explain homestead to me.
Okay, so homestead is if you reside at a property and you have an exemption, which it's quite high. I'm not sure what today's amount. It's over $100,000, where that is yours to claim. So particular creditors come after you. Well, let's put it this way. You've got a deed of trust on a property and the wife didn't acknowledge the debt. Say the deed of trust was $200,000, but the wife had no knowledge about it. She's claiming she lives there. She has always lived there. She's made contributions towards the repayment of it. Now she's going to claim her homestead. That $200,000 deed of trust now just turned into $300 and some thousand because she has the right to that monetary compensation. So when we have the spouses acknowledge these items, they're waiving their
Right.
homestead right then.
Got it.
So that's why
But
we
as
have
a separate
to.
estate, that could be a variety of things. That could be,
She could be single.
yeah.
She could be married, but does hold this as her separate estate. Or she could have been single when she bought it and then had gotten married since. We don't have that as a matter of record, so she still continues to hold this as her separate estate until otherwise
But you
notified.
do consider this a red flag?
No,
Okay.
No.
It is what it is.
it is what it is, but there's
a lot of
going to be
variables there.
follow-up information ultimately when she gets ready to sell with verification of marital status. Are you good on your
Yeah,
time?
I'm just making sure.
Okay. So let's just go through, and what you will see anytime you see somebody as a separate estate in title in the requirements section, you will see this requirement right here. The property described in Schedule 8 is occupied by a marital community or registered domestic partnership as a homestead. Under Washington law, any conveyance or encumbrance must be executed by both spouses / domestic partners.
You will
pursuant
always
to
see this with,
the RCW. Yep, so it is a law. And again, here's that homeowner's note when we don't have buyers that they must be natural persons to qualify. And then your 1 through 7, your excise tax. Here it starts with the assessments. Any assessments that may be levied by this condominium association. If there's special assessments, if there's dues that are unpaid, that is not recorded as a lien, we're not covering you for them.
yep.
So here's deed of trust. Now, see, right here we go, past due assessments to the homeowners association. That's a red flag. Look at the amount.
Yeah, she owes, this is Cynthia owes
Mhm.
$9,000,
Mhm.
nearly $9,000.
Mm-hmm. So it's possible that this homeowners association is in the works of trying to foreclose on this, because depending on how long it's been since she's paid, they can file a civil action to foreclose on and make this a judgment, and then the judgment goes to sheriff's sale, and then the condo association ultimately can foreclose on this property.
And again, we're saying we're not covering that.
Exactly. And see, right there we go, there's the action. They are foreclosing on that lien. Oh, and Miss Cynthia, look at here, she's claimed bankruptcy. So now she's really messed it up too. She's filed a Chapter 13, which can be a 5-year process because it's a debt repayment program versus a Chapter 7, which is debt
Yeah.
wiping it out. So in here you will see that says any sale, purchase, or encumbrance by the debtor must be pursuant to court order. So she can't sell this property until the court has approved this sale.
So these guys are kind of hosed.
So, well, not necessarily.
Well, they're on hold.
They're on hold.
Right, that's what
Mhm.
he's saying.
Yep.
And the court will sort it out.
And it's all, yes, it's all
They
the
can't
bankruptcy
go,
judge.
They can't really go right after her,
trustee.
they have to wait for the court's decision.
It
Is that
just
fair to
puts it
say?
on, yeah, it
Okay.
all depends on what's going on through the court case. Yeah, it's all legal. They can sort that out.
And again, we're we're not.
What we're gonna require is we're gonna require a release of the action. We're going to require a release of the lien, and we're going to require a court order that says she can sell this property. That's what we
This is
require
a
on our
mess.
end. This one is a mess, yeah. This was a good one to pull out off the wall. So now we have got another guy here, Cynthia Ramirez. She holds a title, but for some reason or another, we were notified of record maybe that there was a Francisco that may have been involved somewhere sometime. Maybe they got divorced, she got awarded the property. This particular child support lien may have been filed against him before the divorce was final. For whatever
Wait, so
reason.
he has a child support
Uh-huh.
lien against him?
Uh-huh. Even though she holds title as her separate estate, he may have been in title when this particular lien was filed. So it attaches to the
It's
property.
like a soap opera.
It is, indeed. So we're just saying, you know, what's his interest in, what's his identity? Is this him? Is this property subject to this? We're not gonna cover. And then again, we go on down with all the easements. This is a condo, so there's going to be
Yeah.
many. And last but not least, we will scroll down here and we will find, where is it? Oh, this is a big one. CCNRs, CCNRs, more CCNRs, and here's the condo declaration. So that's where all the rules and regulations of the condo is. So we always point out that, you know, if asked, there are CCNRs to this, have you read?
Right.
So, and then we
Informational notes.
just, yep, informational notes, going through those, talking about all the same information that was prior
The
to,
recording stuff,
address,
yeah.
recording information. Last note here, the homeowner's policy breakdown.
Oh, that's pretty cheap, really.
Yeah, must be a cheap sales price. Let's see. Yeah, 135,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, any questions about how to find the red flags and?
No, I think I want to review it and then maybe have you send me some wonky files a little bit later, and then maybe I
Mhm.
can just sit down with you and talk you through it.
Yeah.
Make sure I know the ins
Yeah.
and outs. And
Absolutely.
you can give me some more pointers. But can I get copies of both these?
Yeah, absolutely.
When
Do you want me to
have
just
time?
email them to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
And then that way, when I watch it again, I'll be, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It'll cue me off.
Okay.
Cool. Look at that. 5 minutes to spare.
There you go.
Hey, thanks. That's awesome. I'm gonna keep bugging you. I hope you know that.
Okay.